But Kaylani's first album, she has a song called The N-Word. So for me, I'm like, when you're seeing this person, like if I was in school and I'm 12 and I see you and you say that, I'm gonna be looking at you sideways. I think that certain people we allow to say the N-word because we feel like they benefit so much from desirability that people are almost like in awe by how beautiful or how attractive they find them that they don't even really like want to hold them accountable. Kaylani saying the N-word is more acceptable for you than me being upset about that.
Sometimes it don't make no sense. Does it really have to? There is nothing I can say.
Hi, welcome to Mayowa's world. Hi y'all, my name is Mayowa. If you're new here, I am a discourse baddie who loves to talk about things relating to anti-Blackness, so discussing colorism, texturism, featureism, just pretty much all the isms that affect me. So today's video is going to be around how desirability dictates who we want to see in Black womanhood. Today's topic is going to be discussing Black erasure in media, particularly relating to an artist called Kaylani. So someone on Twitter wrote, I'm not going to show their name because I'm not trying to have anyone, I don't want it to be about who's saying it, but someone wrote, so y'all wouldn't think this was a little Black girl growing up, and they posted a photo of Kaylani when she was younger. To be completely honest, when I saw it, I was like, oh, Selena Gomez. I didn't know that this was Kaylani.
And this is the tweet I had in response. Mind you, this is the same Kehlani that has a song called N-word. We just have to admit that we allow those who benefit from desirability to say the N-word because it's who we want as the representation of Black womanhood.
And it caused a lot of discourse around if Kaylani is Black and if Kaylani isn't Black. And it's interesting because this has actually been a conversation that I've been seeing on the internet for years, but I haven't seen anybody just like make a video about it and discuss like how I feel or like how, just like what's really going on. So if you've seen other videos I have, I'm really particular around making sure that language is truthful, because when we use words, like when we use the word Black and we subscribe it to everybody, it actually erases people who cannot be any other race but Black. So every perspective I have is coming from a perspective of someone who is Black in every country. I am B-I-E-C, babe, beak. I am a Black in every country babes. So please, I beg, check yourself. If you're coming to tell me I'm wrong and you're not like having the same intersections as me, just reflect. I want you to sit and seep in, because I think it's really important that we're able to critique people who you enjoy, content that you enjoy, content creators, artists, and still also be able to have an honest analysis on things. Just once again, I'm putting this out there. This isn't a critique on her music. This isn't a critique on how I feel about her. I am pointing out things that I see with my eyes and pointing out discourse that I've heard online. So before I talk about Kaylani, I want to talk about what desirability is, because maybe that is like a newer concept for some people. Desirability, or some people have called it pretty privilege, which I think is really flattening. But when we talk about desirability, it's made up of many components. Many things make somebody desirable in society's eyes, right? If we have a society that has this deemed Eurocentric standards of beauty as the most important and the highest form of beauty or intelligence or knowledge, right? Then anyone who's closer to Eurocentric standards of beauty is going to benefit. So we can break it down into like isms. That's what I call them. You can call it colorism. Colorism is something that deters people from finding someone desirable. Texturism, anti-Blackness, ableism, anti-fatness, right? So these are all components that when you have some of these or one of these or all of these, it's gonna push you farther away from being desirable. So it's really important to admit or acknowledge the privileges you do have while still also seeing that there are people who have more than you. I think it's actually pretty simple. But so take, for example, me. I'm dark skinned, I have kinky hair, so I experience texturism, I experience colorism, but I am able-bodied. So somebody who is disabled will have a completely different experience, and they will have to work harder than I will. I'm just gonna say it like that. They will have to work harder than I will. Or somebody who is fat and dark skinned, they're gonna have to work harder than I am, because I don't experience anti-fatness. If you check my comments, you will not see people telling me that I am fat or I need to be like, yeah, I'm fat. So because of that, you know, there's certain things that I benefit from even having the platform that I have. And also too, with even being dark skinned, I am on the lighter spectrum of being dark skinned compared to people who are deep dark skinned, and I'll like put some photos up or whatever. So everything's all about relativity. I get so exhausted with like explaining and having these discussions and stuff is when I have to say that like, it is not my job as a Black person to see everybody as Black, especially when I feel like it's very gendered and it's based off of sexism. So something that I've seen is that a lot of times when artists who society finds desirable, right, who benefit from colorism, featureism, texturism, anti-Blackness, all those things, right, or being Eurocentric, whatever, it's often women that are forced to have to accept that these are Black women. So we have a lot of people who are not Black women who become representation of Black women. Like you have Meghan Markle, you have Kaylani, you have Cardi B. There's like all these different examples of people who are not fully Black, but they will always be seen as Black womanhood. If you have Googled a lot of things about like Kaylani, every single time it's like pride, people always say, oh, look at Kaylani, she's a Black queer woman. She's had many articles written about her for being a Black queer woman, but like, she's not Black.
And just to add context, Kaylani's dad is either Black or biracial. I've seen both things online, and this is what Kaylani's mother looks like.
So this is the issue. And like, when I say someone is not Black, I am not saying that they are a goat. We need to like uncouple positive attributes and Blackness. I feel like when you tell someone they're not Black, they're acting as if you've told them that they're a crocodile or something like that. You know, it's just like saying what I see, and Blackness is it's based off of how you are perceived, right? So if I meet Kaylani and I'm seeing her, I'm not seeing a Black woman, and I don't have interest to ask you to show photos of your parents, nor do I have interest to see the files that you have saved on your phone to prove you're Black and show you're Black. These are things I really don't care about. So I think we also need to like remove ourselves from trying to see people's parents before we can feel how we feel. If you see someone and you think they're Black, they're Black. If you see someone and you don't think they're Black, they're not Black. And the fact that we've been so scared and like tiptoed around like this theory is how we've gotten to this place where Kaylani has a lot of representation of Blackness, even though she herself has said that that you can call her mixed. So Kaylani has said that you can call her mixed, but people want to still say she's Black. When I talk about it being gendered, like I don't see, if I type in right now like Black conscious rappers, I'm gonna see a lot of Black men are brown to dark skin, right? I'm not gonna see Logic. I'm not gonna see Logic at the front.
Everybody hating on me right now. I'm Black and proud. I'm Black and proud. I'm not white.
Just because you have a part of Black in you, or 20 or 30%, or doesn't mean that you're Black. A lot of Black people have 30% white in them, but if you're perceived as Black, you're Black. So like, I don't really understand why ancestry, like bringing up your parents and bringing up to prove something that pretty much society can decide. I don't really like that. What really upsets me about Kaylani's situation is the fact that, well, two things. The first thing is Kaylani, when you're seeing her, like I said, I saw a photo of her as a child. I literally thought it was Selena Gomez. I didn't know that was them. So they're not perceived as Black. But Kaylani's first album, she has a song called The N-Word. So for me, I'm like, when you're seeing this person, like if I was in school and I'm 12 and I see you and you say that, I'm gonna be looking at you sideways. I'm not gonna say, show me your parents right now. Like I'm gonna be feeling emotional in the moment. So that's not cool. Like that's really, really not cool. And I think that certain people we allow to say the N-word because we feel like they benefit so much from desirability that people are almost like in awe by how beautiful or how attractive they find them that they don't even really like want to hold them accountable. And we have like a lot harsher sentencing on dark-skinned people. Like for example, me saying this is gonna have way more backlash than Kaylani saying the N-word. And we really need to ask ourselves why. Why is me saying that this person is using racial ambiguity to like inch their way into Blackness? Like why is that considered more radical than a non-Black person saying the N-word? Why am I, like, I've always kind of felt like people would be more inclined to want to push me out of Blackness, even though it's not possible because like I can only be perceived as one thing, than they would be to want to push somebody like Kaylani out. And then the other thing that also really gets me about Kaylani is like, even within the queer community, people like lust over Kaylani. They like love her so much, especially like Black queer people. And I think it's really interesting because Kaylani has not dated anybody darker than a banana, which is not really like, when you think about it, because she's not Black, it's actually not strange that she's dating people who kind of look like her.
My introduction to Kaylani was actually when she was dating YG, and I don't know if you know YG, but he is a known colorist and said really problematic things, and that was my first point of contingency with wanting to rock with her music, because I'm just like, why are you dating colorist men? Like,
right, because Black people are expected, like Black women are expected to kind of carry the bulk of Blackness and like be the person who's the most accepting, the most protecting. Like I feel like the way I can be a villain and a superhero at the same time is really exhausting. And it's like, when people tell me like, oh, you're enacting like you saying this is like doing what white people have done to us, I don't even have the power to wield that. And I once again ask us to study how power dynamics work. Kaylani saying the N-word is more acceptable for you than me being upset about that, and really unpack that, because it kind of reminds me of when white people say the N-word and then a black person says no, and then everyone attacks the black person for being too sensitive. It's really giving those exact power dynamics. Like, me acknowledging, me seeing things is not the problem here, because even if I didn't say this, people would still feel this. And it really brings me to like two thought processes I have about also people like Rachel Dolezal, people like Jessica Krug, who are white women who pretended to be black, were able to profit off of being in black spaces, being in the NAACP, working at institutions teaching black studies. Like, these dynamics happens because we don't listen to black women. And when we say it, we're innately considered jealous. Unpack why like me expressing this and me explaining this with like all of these definitions and all of these like terms, all you hear is me being jealous. Where does that really come from? Because I remember reading something about how there was a black teacher that worked with Jessica Krug, a dark-skinned teacher, and she was the first person to be like, this woman isn't black. And I heard that people in the department attacked her for saying that Jessica Krug wasn't black, because people would rather attack a dark-skinned woman for saying this person isn't black than a white person who is pretending to be black. Like, and it really comes down to misogynoir and like the dislike of black women, but also just dislike of dark-skinned women speaking up and innately like associating that with aggression. Because I know that even with me explaining this, like, I'm still going to be called aggressive. But yeah, I mean, for me with Kaylani, I don't think it's okay that she has a song called the N-word. I don't think it's okay that she even says the word in general. I don't think anyone is seeing her and looking at her. And I've also heard that, like, I've been to California, and I know that there, like, in California, a lot of people are mixed race and stuff like that. So I'm very confused why there's like, people can't say that. People are like, well, what else is she gonna claim? I mean, she can literally claim mixed race. A lot of people claim mixed race. You can say like you can say what your mixed, what your different ethnicities are. Like, I don't. So, and like, let me know in the comments, because I've heard like in California and I've heard in New York, like stereotypes is that the N-word is like really thrown around really willy-nilly. I know there are people who care, but like I heard that it just happens at a larger rate. I'm from the South, so yeah, I don't think it's okay that she said these things. And I also feel like it's a privilege to not actually be able to have to explain why you did it. Like, it is, you know how wild it is, like, that you can have that and people can see you and like no one says it, and it's because you like are able to wield so much power based off of desirability that nobody wants to question that, and nobody wants to question like, hey, why is Kaylani always considered like a black queer artist? Like, why is that? Why is that never like, why is no one saying it? Why is no one saying it? Everyone's scared. Like, everyone is scared. Let me know what you all think. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you made it to the end of the video, I've done this before, but I tied my hair up, and this is my makeup look. So if you like something specifically and you want to gas me, I really love when you guys just, you know what I'm saying, like give me my physical chops, because even though I like talking about all this discourse stuff, I'm still a bad bitch. I still like to be told I'm pretty. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.